What's good, y'all? It's me, Christopher. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the Netflix original series, Black as Fuck. If you like to follow me on social media, you can check out my Twitter and my Instagram. And while you're here, you can also check out some of my recent videos. A few days ago, I talked about the season premiere episode of Insecure Season 4, as well as I talked about if Bad Bunny is queerbaiting. So those were really fun videos to film and discuss with y'all. But today's video, we're going to be talking about the Netflix original series, Black as Fuck, starring Barris and Rashida Jones. So a few months ago, a photo was released of the cast of Black as Fuck, and when that photo was released, I did a video on that, just talking about how Barris has a weird obsession with mixed black people and light-skinned people, and how he has no understanding of genetics whatsoever. So if you'd like to check out that video, I'll leave it in the as a link in the description box below. But for today's video, I just want to solely focus on this project, Black as Fuck. I'm gonna tell y'all, I did not watch the whole entire series. I'm not a fan of Barris, as some of you may know, especially if you checked out my recent video. I really can't tolerate his work, and so I was going to come into this, with an open mind, just thinking like maybe he's gonna have more creative freedom with Netflix. There's not as much censorship, but no. I could not make it past 2 episodes. I watched full attention the first episode, and then I let the second episode play in the background while I was on my phone, and I just tapped out after that. I just couldn't give any much more attention, and plus from those 2 episodes there was plenty enough for us to talk about here. So that is what this video is going to be about. If you're mad about it, watch the series and then make your own video. I don't care. I've seen enough of Barris' projects to have a full fleshed out thought and opinions on this man and his work. So this TV series starts off as essentially is a teenage daughter of a rich, affluent family who is filming a documentary for her NYU application, right? And at the beginning of this episode, this teenage daughter, she's sitting there on the camera, documentary style, talking about her family, and she introduces her father, Barris. So Barris is playing himself, I guess, like a caricature version of himself in this series. And she's listing off all his accolades, right? Like, he's done Mixish, Grownish, and Blackish. He's also written on Girls Trip, also wrote on the Shaft movie that came out last year that no one saw, and he's also going to be writing on Coming to America, and I'll mention that later on in the video. But just going over all of his credits, and she makes a joke and say he's a racial profiteer, and I was like, literally he is. Literally, this man makes his money off of like blackness, right? This nigga literally profits solely off of his projects, focusing on the black experience. So I just thought it was really funny that they made that commentary at the beginning of the video. Then we get this introduction, this montage of a bunch of like black excellent celebrities. Y'all also already know how I feel about the term black excellence. You can also check my other video about that I did. I'll also will link it in the description box below. But like, we had a montage of Barack and Michelle, Nelson Mandela, Beyonce and Jay-Z, and I'm just like, are you trolling us? You're trolling us. This series made me so mad. It made me so mad. I have to talk lowly because I'm going to get loud and angry if I don't keep it at bay. But this series made me so mad. Like, he's trolling us. The man is trolling us, and not in a good way of like, I heard y'all critiques, I'm going to make this changes. It's more like a like, did you know that the titles of each episode all have to do with slavery? They all have to do with slavery. This man does not care about telling the black experience. This man is, quite frankly, more interested in making a mockery of what black people have experienced from my vantage point. Honestly, it was quite frustrating seeing this. So in this series, it's supposed to be like a mockumentary, a Curb Your Enthusiasm, an Office, a Park and Recs, if you will. And it would have been really interesting to get good commentary on how ridiculous it is to be rich, right? Of all the silliness that black people invest in to respectability politics, like just depicting the foolishness of this rich black affluent family who buys into these respectable standards and relying into whiteness, into assimilation. That would have been really good, funny commentary just to see. Did we get that? No. I really feel like with this series, especially just in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, are you laughing at black people? This literally feels like you're laughing at us, and more specifically the dark-skinned ones, even more specifically the people who had the criticisms about your show. I definitely was offended. In this series, and it's very common in a lot of Kenya Barris' series, we get these weird history lessons about black history in America, and I'm not necessarily opposed to that because yes, in with blackness there's so much erasure. With black history there is so much that just does not get taught, does not get passed down. We're just not informed, we're not aware of our history. So I don't have a problem with creators wanting to introduce like historical aspects into their project, especially if it's not a direct like say if it's a scripted comedy series as such, right? Like I don't have a problem with that if it's not directly like a docu-series, if it's not informative. But there's just a really he explains history in the most like elementary basic way, as if he's like doing us a favor. Sometimes it almost feels like a finger of shame, and I'm just like, who are we teaching these lessons to? That's why a lot of people, I think, when they watch a lot of Kenya Barris' projects, think stuff like, who is the audience for? Like, you keep talking about blackish and mixish and black as fuck, but then there's all this, like, teaching. There's all these, like, really weird lessons that, like, black people as a collective, we know about. That's what black is. Like, that's part of our blackness, is our history. It's weird in the way that he teaches people, because I'm just like, who are you teaching this for? And then who is this show for, right? If you're going to be having these like inserted historical lessons in your TV show, it's really fucking weird. I want to get into Rashida Jones. I don't have a problem with Rashida Jones. I find her to be very likable. She was enjoyable in Parks and Rec, and I've seen her outside of the TV series and her acting, and I love the persona that she presents to us. There was a lot of conversation on social media talking about her contributions to the show as far as like her racial background. We can have conversations about white passing and about blackness and about gatekeeping, but one, what I want to talk about is that she just wasn't good at the role, period. She just wasn't fitting enough for this role. I don't think like black mom is in her lane. I don't think that's in her wheelhouse of capabilities to do. So for that, to me, was the reason I would like to discuss Rashida Jones, is that she didn't sell anything to me. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't rent it. I was not convinced. I wouldn't even try it. I wouldn't even look at it, quite frankly. Rashida Jones' performances was definitely try hard, if you will, but I think it's weird that there was so much conversation around Rashida's racial background when the conversation should have been on Kenya Barris and his creative team, and the fact that he always presents us with this light-skinned, whitewashed, watered-down version of blackness. Like, that should have been the central conversation yesterday, and a lot of people were getting too caught up in Rashida's like racial background, and like we could have a conversation with that. I'm not sure how productive it's also going to be policing her blackness when she has a black father. Her sister is definitely unambiguously black. Like, her culture is of a black person, but her phenotype, unfortunately, is someone that's a white passing. But like I said, we're not going to talk about, I barely want to get into conversation of blackness. I just think that we need to focus on Kenya Barris and his creative team, not Rashida Jones. She is not the problem with this obsession and the way this show was created, right? It was solely Kenya Barris and his team. I'm just really tired of the repetitive storytelling with Kenya Barris, right? That's the main problem that I have with Kenya Barris, and we'll get into it later on. But y'all need to stop letting men off the hook. Y'all really are invested in patriarchy. The fact that the woman was the focus of the conversation so much yesterday just shows how much y'all hate women and will degrade women as quickly as possible as you can. There's no problems with womanhood as long as the man is protected. It's frustrating. It's tiring. At the end of the episode, there is a scene in which Kenya Barris and Rashida's character is sitting at a dinner table opposite this white couple. I believe that they're either friends or acquaintances in the industry that they work together. And this white couple, stereotypical, you know, they're doing all the things that you do when you want to be cool with black people, right? Like, you know, the AAV comes out, the mannerisms, like the references to the pop culture, black artists, and Rashida's character and Kenya are just like, yeah, Cardi B, like, this is good commentary. Like, black people have all experienced this. Like, the moment a non-black person comes around who is not black, like, automatically tries to come in and make you feel comfortable by, like, trying to, like, relate to you. Like, you don't need to say those things to relate to me. You can just be yourself. You're human. That's already relatable. You can just be yourself. You don't have to be what you perceive to be black. So that was a good scene. I thought it was funny though, because specifically Rashida's character comes off as those white people, so I thought it was kind of funny. Like, this is kind of the kettle calling it, kind of like the, what is it called, the kettle calling the teapot black. I'm like, sis, you one step below that. Not Rashida, but the character in the show that she depicts. She's one step from those white people that she was shading at the table. And in this conversation, they bring up, I have a personal gripe. In this conversation, they bring up the San Francisco. I'm from San Francisco, born and raised, and I'm sick and tired of people referring to San Francisco as San Fran. That's some white people shit. That's some gentrification shit that's done sprouted up in the recent years. I've never known San Francisco to be referred by San Fran growing up. This reminds me of the scene in Insecure when, I think it's like season 2 or season 3, and the gentrification process is happening, and a white woman opening up a coffee shop hands Issa Rae like a flyer for the coffee, and she's like, "Welcome to Iwood." Issa's like, "Where?" It's like, can y'all stop doing this shit? Like, the best way, if you would like to refer to San Francisco and you don't want to say San Francisco, is the city. That's what us locals call it. We call it San Francisco, the city. Sometimes you can even get away with saying Frisco. I've even kind of heard some people say SF, but never San Fran. Never San Fran. Just say San Francisco or say the city. The moment you say San Fran, that is a red flag of like, this nigga not a native, and let me keep my guard on high. We end the episode with Kenya Barris saying, "I hate fucking white people." And to me, there's just so many catchphrases and so many buzzwords that are just written into the scene with no type of flow or context. Like, Kenya Barris writes like a white man who thinks that he knows black culture because he grew up in the hood. Y'all, the writer's room is full of white people. Now, granted, Kenya Barris wrote the first 2 episodes, but the fact that there's a TV show called Black as Fuck, and you have more than one white writer in the room is alarming. How can a group of white people write black culture? Kenya Barris's writing is like a grab bag of black culture. It's like MLK, civil rights, Beyonce, Barack, 90s hip hop, swoosh it on in, take out a few shades. Here's the black. Here's the black. It's like, stop selling me the black experiences and just be fucking black. I don't know why that's so fucking hard. Like, blackness is so broad that you couldn't shrink it down to be able to sell it on a show. It's just not possible. Like, stop trying to be black and stop trying to sell me black, be black. You are black. So many black TV shows, sitcoms in the 90s and the early 2000s, when they positioned themselves as black TV shows, they just were black characters living their lives, right? They just lived their experience. A lot of it is also very small-minded, narrow-minded. It shrinks us black people down to just our race when that is the constant conversation. And yes, everything is about race, quite frankly, and that's not black people's fault, that's white people's fault. But to shrink us down only to our race when you depict our storytelling over and over again is a flaw on you. It's a flaw on you. It's a try hard. I don't know if Kenya Barris is trying to, like, if he grew up with some childhood traumas of not being able to fit into blackness, and so this is like his way now. I could relate to that as a dark-skinned black person for sure. A lot of people told me growing up, like, oh, you act white, you're not this, you're not that, like, you don't fit into what society has perceived blackness as. I'm like, yeah, that's frustrating. But I still was black the whole entire time. My lived experiences have always been through the lens of a black man, regardless of what ignorant people who believed in stereotypes projected onto me. I don't know. I just feel like with a lot of his shit, he's mad at black people, and he wants to, like, sell black people a certain warped idea of blackness, and we're not with that shit. You know, the first thing they tell you to do with writing is write about what you know. I've taken plenty of acting classes and English class. They always talk about write what you know first. So I'm not mad at Kenya Barris writing his experience. But ain't you tired? Ain't you tired? Like, can we come up with something else?
That's all you can say. Can you come up with something else? Can you come up with something else?
Can we come up with something else? I don't know. Like, for me, there's been enough people in conversations and criticism for Kenya Barris to have grasp and understand what we're saying. At this point, I just feel like he doesn't care. I feel like at this point, he just doesn't care. So fuck Kenya Barris. I'm not invested in anything that Kenya Barris has to present until he acknowledges what the fuck we've been saying. Because he knows it fucking makes sense, because he's commented on it in the past. And to me, this Netflix series is just a fucking troll. It's a trash. It's not worth your time. I'm judging you if you find this funny. I'm judging you if you find this funny, okay? That's all the thoughts that I have on this series. I would love to really know what y'all think about this. Please let me know in the comments below. Did you watch? I'm sure a lot of y'all did. We're gonna have like a collective black USA after watching this series. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the Kris Beknowin family, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye!